Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. Imagine this. You've given birth to a healthy baby boy after 27 hours of labor. He's the light of your life, and you treat him accordingly. You do everything to make sure he grows healthy in mind and body, but there's something different about him. He doesn't speak, he doesn't react, and when you seek help, you are told that the child is autistic, and it's your fault. That's the story that our guest, Jo Anne Jeffries, retells in her amazing memoir called Sunward, Our Zigzag Path to High-Functioning Autism. Welcome, Jo Anne, from Durham, North Carolina today. How are you?
Thank you. It is good to be here.
It really was a zigzag path, and it didn't help that this was 1959 before a lot was known about autism.
Correct.
How,
Yes.
how difficult was that zigzag path? How do you describe it in the book?
Well, it was in three segments. The first is that we went to North Carolina Memorial Hospital in Chapel Hill, where they were conducting the fourth research group to help children who had autism. The
Mhm.
first had been in England, and then at Johns Hopkins and at Yale. And we were the fourth group. And all they knew then, or all they thought they knew, was that we had caused it. And so for 10 years, we went there, and they had group therapy for the children and group therapy for the mothers and group therapy for the fathers.
Mhm.
After 10 years, they said to us, "We've done all we can do. Go home with him and do the best you can." At that point, the superintendent of city schools in Greensboro, North Carolina, where we lived at that time, had a child who had cerebral palsy and was going to the Institute for the Rehabilitation of the Brain Injured in Media, Pennsylvania. And several people had said to us, "Your son acts like a brain injured child." And so we went there to see if they could tell us anything. And the doctor who developed the VJ shunt for hydroencephalitic children told us that our son, they did many tests, and then he showed us a picture of the brain and said, "Your son is hurt in this area. And if it had been one pencil thickness farther over, it would have been cerebral palsy."
Hmm.
And they began us on a program called patterning and told us that some people much worse than our son got much better, some better than our son got no progress, but there was a good chance they could help. And so for 3 years, we patterned our son, 210 people a week coming in to pattern him. And at the end of that time, they said they had done all they could do. Well, one of our patterners said to me one day, "Have you ever heard of Edgar Casey?" And I said, "Yes,
Yeah.
long ago." And she said, "I have a book I'd like you to read." From that, we went to a meditation conference at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, where the Edgar Casey headquarters are. And there we met an archaeologist doing research for ARE in Bimini. And he said, "There's a man that worked with Dr. McGeary, who heads up the medical research for the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And he gave me a reading, and it was right on target." Well, we had nothing to lose because we had done all we knew to do. And so we contacted him and got a reading. And he said, "Over a period of years and therapies that I can give you, your son can become nearly normal." And so we began on this. And after years of doing this, we were told when he came into this world, the lower two of seven chakras were working, the gonads and the cells of lighting. And through the work that you have done, you have gotten the two upper chakras going, the pineal and the pituitary. And now the goal is to do one final set of things over a couple of years and permit the chakras in the upper part of the body to join those in the lower part. And then he said, and permit the soul to totally inhabit the body. Well, when we did all of this, to our amazement and deep gratitude, our son began to come into our world. It used to be that when he could walk into our room, he would talk to us about what we were thinking about. But once we got it all joined together, he couldn't do that anymore. And we were glad he couldn't. And it used to be that he did not know the difference in hot and cold, but all of a sudden he did. And he did not read, and all of a sudden he began to read and to look up words he didn't know in the dictionary. And one thing led to another, and he ended up getting his driver's license and driving his own car and working at Research Triangle Park in North Carolina and working at EPA. And they told us that in the job that he was the fastest they had ever had in that job. So we were so thankful that we spent 15 to 20 years helping him to come into our world and be a part of our life.
Well, in many ways, William was very exceptional anyway. As he grew, from what I understand, he spoke German, played the piano and the flute, sang in the choir, drew amazing pictures. How old was he when he was doing all that? And how, if he had so many problems, how did he exhibit such brilliance?
He was born in 56, and in about 62, he began to draw, and the pictures were very realistic, the television or the trees or whatever. And one thing led to another, and he picked up a foreign language that his dad spoke, German, and he had perfect pitch and wanted us to turn off the clocks because he said they were not perfectly pitched. And so he could milk the cow, he could help take honey out of the beehives, he could help in many ways. And we were so delighted. But it was a long struggle, Paul, and many different facets of it that are delineated in the book. Sunward tell how we went through one thing after another to get him a little bit better here and a little bit better there, until finally he could buy his own house, his townhouse, and had a good outlook for life. And every morning he would park a quarter mile from the front door at EPA and run to his door as a part of his exercise routine. He was a big runner and weightlifter. And one morning, the guard at the door saw him coming, and he threw open the door, went down on his knee, and fell unconscious. Mucus had fallen into the air passage as he ran on that cold morning, about 15 degrees.
Oof.
And he never regained consciousness and passed away at the age of 51. But this was a story that I hoped to give hope to parents and teachers and therapists as they worked with individuals who have autism, and to give them possibilities of help that I had. And then I hope it will inspire researchers in autism to go farther, to identify autism in new ways and to treat it in new ways. Because it's possible, if our son is any example, to come from not knowing, not even recognizing people walking past him, to being a part of the conversation that was going on around him, using the computer and the typewriter. He did his own income tax. It was an amazing story to us.
It must be an encouragement to other parents in the same situation, learning from your experience, because you had to, it was at a time when autism wasn't talked about very much or understood. In fact, some doctors even said he needed a frontal lobotomy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
We were told that at Duke Hospital that was a possibility that we could give him a prefrontal lobotomy.
yeah, or that some of the things you had done environmentally were causing the problems.
Oh, yes. And I told the doctor who told us about the giving him a lobotomy, this will never happen for if there's ever a way to help him, he must be available to be helped.
Yeah.
And when we went for patterning and met with the doctor who told us he was brain injured, it was like lifting a great sentence from our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a weekend that Martin Luther King was killed when we went up there.
Mm-hmm.
And as we came home at the end of the weekend, and we heard thing after thing on our car radio, and our heart was singing his favorite saying, free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had been the sentence that we had caused, it had been lifted.
Yeah.
And we were on our way to new vistas
Yeah.
to help him grow towards wholeness.
Well, so this is really more than just a memoir. This is really using your experiences and the difficulties you had in trying to decide what course of action to take and who to talk to, that parents now who have autistic children can learn from you and be
Oh,
inspired.
yes. All of it is in the book Sunward.
Uh-huh.
And it tells all three sets of things: what happened with the therapies in the beginning, what happened with the patterning, and what happened with the readings that they were called that we were given in the last third of our treatment.
How difficult was that to try and figure out what the best course of action was? Because you had, different opinions coming from all sides. How did you decide which was the best course of action?
There was nothing that we could do when we went to Duke and they suggested the prefrontal lobotomy. We had a friend who was a psychiatrist at North Carolina Memorial Hospital in Chapel Hill. And we went there and they told us about the project, the fourth in the world, that was going to be started. So we thought, this is wonderful. We're close enough to go to this. And he did improve. He began to talk during that therapy. And then when that petered out, it was interesting that we had been introduced to the possibility of brain injury. And when we found that, some improvement happened, but not much.
Mm.
And through that pattern, we found out about psychic readings, which were totally new to us. My husband was a Methodist minister, and I was a school teacher, and this was something we'd never heard of. And the only reason we pursued it was we were pushed against the wall. Our son's
Yeah.
life was at stake.
You were desperate.
We were desperate, and we thought, hey, if it doesn't help, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
If it does help, we will at least have done something. And so we're so glad we did that.
Yeah. I'm sure there were a lot of prayers involved as well.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I hope this really will be an encouragement to it's a great book called and the book is called Sunward, Our Zigzag Path to High-Functioning Autism. It's available on Amazon and I assume some other
Yes.
places. And
It's available on
it really is a zigzag path, and parents need to know that they're not alone and that it's not an easy journey, but it can come to a fitting
And
conclusion.
Paul, we have soft cover books, hardcover books, and an ebook. So all of that's available. The ebook, of course, is the least expensive. And I hope people can benefit from it and particularly can feel hope. And I hope that researchers can get new ideas from what might be possible as they're looking into causes and what will help.
Once again, Sunward is the name of the book. Sunward, Our Zigzag Path to High-Functioning Autism. Jo Anne, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. You've been a real encouragement.
Thank you, Paul.
And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.